is Oromo Voice Radio English program. Oromo Voice Radio is broadcasting to Oromia at 16-meter band or 17,850 kilohertz or on oromovoice.org website. OVR broadcasts Oromia Insight program every Monday for 15 minutes at 7:15 p.m. Oromia local time. Welcome to Oromia Insight program.
Welcome to Oromia Insight. My name is Aligi Galato. This is part 3 in the final part of interview with Dr. Tsegaye Ararsa about Ethiopian National Exam Leak and the Oromo protest.
It is an act of civil disobedience. As I said, it is an intervention. It's a form of intervention. It is not a trivialization of the what is actually, a normal educational process. And many people say it is a crime on education. No, it is not. Because this is only stopping the process, not the education, not the substance. Nobody is being harmed, by the way. In fact, it's only the Oromo trying to bide their time, and nobody is, experiencing any harm, except, of course, the regime that spent some money. So for us, it is not an undermining of the actually just and moral activities of government. It is injecting a blood of justice into an unjust system that is unjustly inflicting the Oromo students, pain on the Oromo students and excluding them from the system. So for those people who think in moral terms about the fact that this is a theft, I say it is not. Theft is a property offense. This is a political act of resistance. It is a way of intervention. And for those people who try to talk in terms of morality, there is nothing immoral about this. At best, it is amoral, meaning it's not moral, it's not immoral. But it is, in fact, for me, an act of moralizing the whole discourse. When you have an unjust procedure in place, when you have an unjust exam arrangement in place, to disrupt that is a very powerful moral statement. And that is what the fiasco has brought about. So that is how I look at it.
Where does this take us? Where is the Oromo protest going next? And what should the government do to get the country out of this crisis?
Well, the Oromo students, as you know, one of the advantages of this, one of the things that we have seen in this week then, is that the Oromo students felt relieved. They felt their cause is vindicated. They felt their voice is heard. And they felt their hope is resuscitated. You see, having stayed in this struggle for a long time, since last November, in fact, since 2014, really, this generation of Oromo youth have been feeling hopeless because irrespective of the gross injustice that they are experiencing, there was no change, of course, on the part of the government, and there is no change, of course, from the part of the international community. And there was a lot of despair among the youth. And now the cancellation of this exam because of the intervention by the Oromo protest through social media has really restored a lot of hope. And therefore, the youth in Oromia have felt that their hope is resuscitated. And they, for whatever worth it is, however long it is, be it a month or 3 months or 6 months, they have now some time during which they can concentrate on their studies and prepare for the exams, just like other students. Now, mind you, the Oromo elite, the Oromo activists who involved themselves in this protest, in this social media activism, could have, once they secured the exams and their answers, they could have just given it over to the Oromo students and, taken advantage of the leaking. But they didn't. That shows you how moral the whole thing is, how moral the intervention is. Had it not been for the moral integrity of the protest, you could have just given it to the Oromo, and the Oromo students would have completely, done the exam and fully all of them would pass easily. That did not happen. Instead, what we did was, what the protest did is actually to disseminate it for free to everyone so that the government is forced to cancel it. Now, hopefully, the exam will be postponed for some time, and hopefully the government will change its course, and in that situation, the students will take exams. But the exam arrangement, the time, is not the only thing that is necessary to stabilize the whole region and the Oromo youth. whatever happens now between now and the exam time is going to also change the dynamics. So what is going to happen is now one scenario is that the government will start to rethink the rescheduling. They have scheduled it to happen in a month's time. I don't think it is realistic even for themselves to do it, but it has already gotten them into a political stalemate with the Muslims. But I think there is a reason for them to, and it's also unrealistic. I mean, logistically, it's unrealistic for them to do it. So what they have to do is to extend it probably by a minimum of 3 months or a maximum of 6 months, so that the Oromo students will catch up with the preparation. So that's one of the best scenarios out of this. And in the meantime, the Ethiopian government as well as the Oromia regional government must do its level best to normalize the situation, by pulling out the army from the school compounds, from the universities, from the civilian areas in the whole Oromia region, and returning the army into its military barracks. And secondly, stop clashing with young people everywhere. And it has to stop arresting young people everywhere. Thirdly, it has to release the students in particular, the students that have been unjustly and arbitrarily arrested and are now languishing in many concentration camps, which were formerly military training camps. And in the meantime, the best scenario is that the government might return the books and study kits to students and create a conducive atmosphere in the schools, the school compounds, so that a very conducive environment is created where students can properly have a peace of mind that can help them prepare for exams. Now that is the best scenario, but that might not happen. What happens is the government insists now on taking the exam, scheduling the exam to happen within a month. Now, if that is going to happen, these same people who have so far leaked the exam and interrupted the whole process might do it again. And in fact, they might do even worse things now. And so the government has so many problems to solve at the moment. They don't only have to reschedule the program in such a way that students have enough time and enough peace of mind to take the exam, but they also need to address all other simmering issues in the country, not just in Oromia, but in the entire country. There are so many actions, so many problems, scandals of corruption at the moment, so many problems of repression in the north, in Tsegaye, in Walqait, in Kamant, in the south, in the southern Oromo Valley. You have in the same problems in Gambela and everywhere. So I think the government has literally failed to govern at the moment. It is struggling to govern the country, and I think it's time for it to sit down with their political opponents and start negotiating about a peaceful settlement in that country. So the next step is really unknown by everyone. But for the Oromo students now, first the examinations, then correcting all the mistakes done to provoke, in the first place, to provoke this resistance. And if that is not going to happen, as the protest leaders are now already vowing, I think another disaster is right on the brink. And this time, it's not going to impact only Oromia, but also, like this exam leak has done, the entire country. And for whatever words it is, people are going to start discussion, and that discussion might lead to a whole national, countrywide revolution, or at least some form of resistance to the regime.
Just finally, one more question. Do you think the government is actually run out of time? From what I see, if the student is actually asking to extend the exam, so the university starts in September or October, it looks like the government is actually running out of time on resolving conflict or dealing with a student or dealing with land. I think in terms of solving a problem, the government actually seems like they are actually running out of time. What's your view?
Well, yes, they are being pressed hard into a difficult season, but I think there is enough time for them to extend this exam, because there is, for example, if they have been taking this exam this week, university starts only in mid-September or October, and between now and then they have a lot of months during which the exams are marked, corrected, and disseminated. So they could still manage. So one of the things they could do now is, for example, to conduct the exam in August. All right, and so that would give some time to students. I'm trying to be reasonable as a teacher also. And between August and September, in 1 month, the correction can happen because it's a national exam. It can be easily corrected by the machine, by the computers, and that it can be done within a month. Even if it's difficult to do, I think they can mobilize more people into the correction process, into the management of the exam, and by October everyone can start university as planned. This is the crunch time, yes, but they cause it upon themselves. Or if that's not possible, they can extend it for the whole 6 months, and they can extend the time of the new semester that will begin after this year's students have been properly marked and corrected. So it can happen. It has happened before. When I was a student, when the EPRDF came into power, the universities were closed until October of next year. And from that time on, for many years, we never had a summer break, because it was always a crush semester, that we have been running 3 semesters every year, because 1 semester has been lost during the time when the regime came to power and the universities were closed. So it has happened before. It can happen now. There is no problem of time for doing education. And they can enroll in January instead of September, in October. They can start the courses in mid-year, in mid-Ethiopian year, I mean. Or, as I still think they still have time, they can extend it up until August, and they can have 1 month for correction, and they can start classes as university classes in October or mid-September. So it is possible. But yes, it's not a normal time. Nothing is normal. And it is far more abnormal for Oromo students than anybody else in that country. Far more abnormal for the Oromo students than even the government. So are they going to be pressed because of time? Yes, of course. That's the consequence of being a dictator who disrupts the education of a whole region, to steal away and to tactically steal away the future of the Oromo students by making it inconvenient for them to sit for a national exam. So yes, that's the price they have to pay in order to stay in power and govern the country properly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tsegaye.
Thank you for having me, Ali.